A harrowing 2.5-year ordeal coming to a close for the family of murdered Central Coast teenager Kieran Priestland. His broken father speaking with the media after the sentencing of the man who took away his son forever.
The impact that this has had on family, friends and the community has been very profound and definitely life-changing.
Relatives of murderer Andrew Perkins leaving court after hearing he was sentenced to a maximum of 20 years and 6 months behind bars for repeatedly stabbing the victim while he sat defenceless in his car outside a Niagara Park home in February 2014. An attack Justice Richard Button described as unremitting and extended and extremely grave, saying the motivation for the savagery that occurred still remains very much a mystery.
The sentence, although inadequate, reflects a legal system rather than a justice system. Although no level of justice can ever bring Kieran back.
The victims' families are upset. I can understand why they would be, but in our view it was a fair decision.
Craig Priestland bravely remembering the son who will live on forever in his heart.
He was out there, he was a larrikin, he loved life to the fullest, and that's really where I think his memory will last with everyone.
Rachel Manevsky, the former partner of Andrew Perkins, has been convicted of being an accessory after the fact to murder. Her sentencing will continue in the Supreme Court in Sydney next month.
We would like to acknowledge the support and assistance of the police, the medical staff on the day of Kieran's death, and the Homicide Victim Support Group with their continued support. Shine bright, Kieran. Thank you.
Andrew Perkins will be eligible for parole in 2029. Mike Lorrigan, NBN News.
St John's College, a place of unimaginable pain. Today, the Royal Commission heard evidence of how a trainee priest at the college groomed and sexually abused a vulnerable teenage boy.
I felt very confused and embarrassed. I felt like it was not really happening. I did not say anything. When Ian stopped, he might have asked if I was okay and started talking like nothing had happened.
The witness, known only as CKU, told the Commission he lived at the Morpeth College in the late 90s while his mother trained there to be a priest. At the age of 14, he was befriended by Ian Barrick, who abused him 3 to 4 times a week.
As a child being abused, I felt trapped. You're constantly being manipulated. You get to the point where you believe what is being done to you is good and what they are doing is right.
His mother also gave evidence describing St John's College as a devil's playground.
While I lived on campus, I heard a lot of rumours going around about certain people and certain priests concerning homosexual activity happening amongst people on campus, and about certain priests who might fancy little boys.
Earlier, Newcastle's former assistant Anglican bishop took the stand for a second day. His knowledge of clergy abuse, again the focus of intense questioning.
Appleby, let me ask you squarely, did you turn a blind eye to what was going on with Stephen Gray?
No.
Did you turn a blind eye to allegations that CKZ had been assaulted by James Brown?
Definitely not, because I was not aware of that.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
on each location there's a story about either a ship or some people or ships that came by, and here we have the naval ships that went to sea in the First World War and the submarines that were lost, and so we think they're important things to remind people of.
It's not long until Jeremy Smith says goodbye to his career as a footballer, but it's likely he'll remain involved with rugby league. The 36-year-old has held talks with the club about staying on in some capacity.
We have talked, but I suppose they've got to come up with something and find a role. So I'm not too fussed. If it happens, it happens.
The Knights could find room for Smith somewhere in the coaching ranks, since Danny Baderis won't be returning in 2017. Baderis has decided to pursue opportunities outside of coaching. While Smith has one eye on the future, he's got the other focused on leaving an impression on the current Knights playing group.
When I come into the grade, I had a lot of mentors that I looked up to, and they sort of took me under their wings. But here, they've been thrown in the deep end and had to fend for themselves for a while.
The Bulldogs boast a big and experienced pack.
Come prepared to take a knock because they do get physical.
They've got some fairly big guys, and we've had a shorter week, but we've obviously prepared like anyone would to try and combat their big men.
Jared Mullen will return to the side after aggravating his hamstring against the Sharks.
With Mullo left foot kicker and Hocko right foot kicker, does give you nice balance. So with Mullo being back, it does take some pressure off Trent as well.
And his kicking game is invaluable. Being able to kick long and get him behind this big pack. I think it's going to work to our advantage.
Non-invasively monitoring the training that they've undergone and how they're responding to that physiologically, so we can better manipulate their training and implement more effective recovery practices for them.
Albeit there's some growing pains within the village, but I said it when I got selected, I'd sleep on a swag if I meant coming over here. So it's amazing to finally be here after all the build-up and the selection camp, and it's just the pinnacle of any athlete's career, and now it's time to knuckle down and try and get results on the court.
It's been a week of explosive allegations and harrowing evidence. With the Royal Commission hearing into child sexual abuse within the Newcastle Anglican Diocese now at the halfway mark, counselling service Lifeline is encouraging those affected to reach out.
They really don't have to suffer in silence. So whether they are directly affected through sexual or child abuse life experience, or whether they're just really distressed by some of the explosive findings, they can talk to us on the phone or they can come in.
The service expects at least 10,000 people in the Hunter region alone to be impacted in some way by the Commission's evidence.
Yes, it's during the hearings, but it's also 6 months later or 12 months later that people get delayed reaction.
Lifeline is just one of dozens of support services in Australia for survivors of child abuse. Last year alone, it received 1 million calls for help. That's one call every 32 seconds. And if you do know someone in need, Lifeline has this advice.
It's not something you can rush. They need to choose somebody who they feel trust and comfortable with, whether that be a friend, a family member or a professional.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Don't be fooled by their size. These drones can reach some incredible speeds. And for those who race them, it's a serious business. Known as FPV or first-person view, competitors use special goggles to pilot their drone around a course.
It's becoming a lot more of a sport now than an enthusiast group, so we're getting some bigger players.
About 6 months ago, the local FPV club sought to find a space to compete indoors. A go-kart racing business at Thornton answering its call.
Never heard about it. What is it? No idea. I looked at it a bit further and thought we could use the track.
After some track modifications and new lighting, today marked the first official race day at the venue. Not only is it out of the elements, but also free of strict regulations that come with flying in open airspace.
We are the first indoor centre in the world, from what we understand.
And while thrilling, the fast-paced action isn't without some casualties. All ages are getting involved. 7-year-old Reese Wyatt already showing he's got plenty of talent.
What's the trick to being a good drone racer, do you think?
Just practice and practice on the simulator, and I get on it every afternoon.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
Day one of the Olympics in Newcastle, Scott Westcott is yet to board a plane, putting in a last-ditch 10-kilometre run before the biggest moment in his athletic career.
So everything's in the bag now. It's just a matter of me enjoying the ride.
With Westcott powering away in the rain, Newcastle Parkrun, half a world away from Brazil, hosted its own opening ceremony. At the 5K mark, cheered on by all of his supporters, he now certainly feels the entire city and country is behind him.
I know what it's like to see people that you look up to, people that you think are a little bit, untouchable, and I certainly don't think of myself as that.
8 years ago, Westcott thought his Olympic dream was over. Now 40 years old, he's broken new territory, qualifying for the marathon, and is Australia's oldest track and field athlete to make an Olympic debut.
I'm not just running on the last 4 months, I'm running on all the experiences that I've had over the last 30 years.
Westcott feels right at home here at the Newcastle Parkrun, a good place to be before he flies into the official training camp in Florida on Monday.
We get into the games into Rio on the Super Saturday, that middle weekend, when the track and field program starts and the swimming finishes.
The men's marathon gets underway on the final day of the games, August 21. The last time these two sides met, the Blacks came out on top. Today it was the visitors who found the scoreboard first. Maitland returned the favour moments later before some questionable ruck work gave Aiden Kelso an opening. A big hit, some fiery words, and the Greens saw yellow. And despite being down to 14 men, Carlton still had all the momentum heading into the half. But after the break, it was the home side on the front foot, closing the gap to 3 points. Things going from bad to worse for the Greens as the Blacks levelled things at the 50-minute mark. From here, it was yellow cards galore. The Blacks down to 14. This high shot saw the Greens again down a man. And after this tackle, Maitland reduced even further. The visitors soon capitalised. The try enough to seal the win for Merewether Carlton and third place on the NHRU ladder.
Yeah. Yes. Why can't you develop a road through the old Allendale Hospital grounds?
Musselbrook to me seems like a perfect position.
I'd like to have a bit of a think about the vegetation buffer.
A watered-down report, that's what Red Zone residents fear come Monday morning.
This is something they've been telling us to hang out for the last 11 months or so, and I don't think it's going to be accurate. I don't think it's going to represent the situation very well at all.
A human health risk assessment drafted by the Department of Defence and finalised by the EPA will be released tomorrow. The findings could have a significant impact on the Red Zone boundary and those living within it. This is a sample of the area's contaminated water, and while tomorrow's report will be vital to revealing more about its health impacts and spread, residents are furious it's taken almost 12 months for it to be released, especially considering Defence has known about the spill for over 10 years. The timing has also been slammed, with a review into Australian drinking water standards now underway. The investigation will look at both European and US water guidelines to determine the acceptable consumption level of PFAS chemicals.
If they're different to what we hear tomorrow, what impact will that have on that health assessment? Why shouldn't we want the very best and highest standards here in Australia? Surely that's what we should be wanting and deserve. Are we, deserved of no less than the very best for our people?
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
I love the community spirit that Newcastle brings, and I'm a Newcastle girl, so it brings me home and get to hang out with my family and raise some money for a wonderful cause.
Second on the ladder, Olympica well within reach of competition favourites Edgeworth. And the home side opened the scoring when a cross from Andrew Swan found the left foot of Tommy Spencer. In the 62nd minute, Kane Goodchild headed home Olympic second. It took several attempts to find the back of the net, but the striker eventually got the job done. But Valentine have shown plenty of fight throughout the season, and when Matthew Paul found the back of the net, the dying minutes suddenly became very tense. Hamilton had an opportunity to put the game to bed, awarded a penalty in the 90th minute. But Kane Goodchild couldn't pass keeper Perry Budden. Valentine seized possession and caught Olympic on the hop. A desperate pass found Matthew Paul, who calmly passed keeper Thomas Pullen for the equaliser. Valentine leaving Darling Street with a valuable point on the road. A star-studded field, workable conditions, and a chance to remember a local icon.
We're remembering Mark Richards' father, Ray, but it's not just that, it's a few other guys that we've lost this year.
Everyone kind of does make the effort to come back for it and compete, and it's just a great day down here, really.
It's been really fun, yeah. We've been lucky with good waves. I love coming home to good waves.
Travis Lynch was the form surfer throughout the day, but Jackson Baker has been in good form. Fresh from a win in Japan, Baker booked his place in the final with a seamless display of rail surfing.
It's pretty prestigious, like the names on the winners list, Ryan Carnan, Travis, Jesse, Chatty Edza, Mitchie Ross, it's an amazing list of winners, so I'd love to get my name on there.
Having taken down Matt Hoy in the quarterfinals, Jake Sylvester was finding corners as conditions worsened late in the day. But Mitch Ross found better quality waves, linking his turns and turning plenty of heads in the process. In the final, Ross continued to impress, taking out his fourth Ray Richards Memorial title.
Enduring a full day of sustained and intense questioning at the Royal Commission,
How you feeling, Mr. Allen?
Keith Allen emerged late this afternoon not necessarily unscathed.
Allen advised that the church had influence over the police up until recent years, and often things were dealt with by a wink and a nudge.
Fending off allegation after allegation made by Anglican Diocese business manager John Cleary, who claimed during a 2015 Anglican meeting, Allen described then Bishop Roger Hurft was the biggest concern for the diocese because of his handling of the brown envelopes.
So you say there's one occasion when you remember there was an allegation of sexual assault of a child by a priest recorded in a brown paper envelope. Is that right? Yes.
But Roger Hurft wasn't the only one Allen was concerned about, according to Mr Cleary.
Allen advised that Graham Lawrence would be a focus of the police and the Royal Commission, and that Lawrence would bring others down.
As for what, he wouldn't say.
Now, Mr Allen, you're giving evidence on your oath before the Royal Commission. Are you aware in any way, shape or form of allegations being made against Graham Lawrence in relation to sexual improprieties against children, excluding the incident that led to his defrocking?
No.
Is that the truth, Mr Allen?
Yes.
Mr Allen also admitted to destroying the resignation letter of convicted pedophile Stephen Gray, replacing it with a new one dated February 11, 1990, one day before Gray was charged with abusing a 14-year-old boy on the Central Coast. He'll face more questioning tomorrow. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
The humble fruit tree, vegetable patch and chicken coop now red zone risk areas.
And that's a precaution while we go about gathering more data.
The new warnings were handed down by the expert panel today and include cutting down on the weekly intake of homegrown food.
Especially leafy greens and things like that. It's not something that you should be consuming every day.
The report also found consuming small amounts of groundwater is a major pathway to exposure. Incidental swallowing while bathing or swimming in contaminated water should also be avoided.
It's not about getting in through the skin, it's about accidental ingestion, particularly with kids.
That also includes bodies of water affected by the contamination. The Human Health Risk Assessment also supported the current boundaries of the investigation zone, but title aside, no humans were actually tested in the research.
No, humans haven't been tested, but what's been tested is a range of products that people might consume, from surface water and groundwater through to fruit and vegetables and meat and the like.
And where data couldn't be found, models were used.
They've used models where they haven't actually had data, and they're okay. So we probably feel reasonably confident about the advisories we're giving.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
Our research we're looking at is bringing industry-led or engaged research into the region and hosting it here with the different partners.
It's charity shopping, but not as you know it.
It hasn't, and we want to change things up a little bit. We think customers are really looking for an experience, and this is giving customers an experience.
The Belmont concept store was bustling with opening day shoppers poring over racks of clothes and shelves stacked with books. Lifeline says the targeted approach marks a change in philosophy, but not pricing.
So we have about 2,000 units of ladies' fashion here, all priced at $5. We have an amazing range of some designer labels, and then we have thousands of titles in books.
It is different. I think it's really moving with the times, and Lifeline does such terrific work, and really proud to be associated with them.
It was rich pickings for celebrity stylist and Façon magazine editor Lara Lupish.
Look, I love the Gucci active wear, of course. Yeah, it's real Gucci.
An opportunity too for dress-ups.
All right, have you seen anything that might work for me?
From conservative corporate to casual chic. Cheap and cheerful, but the retail fix also plays a vital role in supporting Lifeline's crisis support and suicide prevention services. The charity estimates its work saves 5,000 local lives each year.
The single most important thing is just to do the thing that you want to do. It sounds really basic, but I think a lot of people are sitting on ideas that are way better than this.
Content in his father's arms, little Levi has no idea of the fuss he caused. Just over a week ago, Mum Brooke went into labour at 3 a.m. Together with husband Tim, she borrowed his parents' car and started on the 40-minute drive to John Hunter Hospital.
I told Tim to call the hospital and tell them that I wanted an epidural because it was really painful. I didn't realise that we weren't going to make it to the hospital.
Brooke also didn't realise her in-laws' car would be the delivery suite.
Ambulance emergency, what town or suburb?
Nelson Bay Road. We're in the car. My wife's going into labour.
Just keep taking those deep breaths between the contractions, Brooke. My husband's going to faint.
This is hardly an ideal place to deliver a baby, but Tim and Brooke said they were just desperate to pull over, and thankfully the paramedics found them just in time.
Here they come. It's coming, I can feel its head.
It's coming!
Alright, so support the baby's head and shoulders. Okay, and be prepared to hold the hips and legs firmly. Remember, the baby's going to be breast free.
Can you take over? Yeah, mate. Just jump out.
Yep, alright. They're there with you?
Yep.
Experienced paramedic Mark Doran says Brooke's labour was textbook.
She just gave one more push. We just controlled the speed. The baby came out and congratulations, you got a little boy.
The new family of 4 can now laugh about the speedy arrival.
The lady on the phone was telling me, telling Brooke to breathe, take deep breaths, and I'm hunched over out the car just going, trying not to throw up myself.
They both went through it fairly calm. Brooke was still talking to me through most of the birth, so it was really good.
A happy reunion and a tale to tell Levi.
I think you'll hear that story 1,000 times.
Yeah. Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Nathan Ross admits he set plenty of ambitious goals when he started out in the NRL. He was desperate to make it as a professional footballer and made the necessary sacrifices to do so. Now he's signed a new 2-year contract and already has new goals.
I want to play 50 NRL games. Sitting down and thinking about it, I also want to be a one-club player in the NRL, and I'd love to get rep honours at some stage.
Ross is a character loved by Knights fans. He's also been a standout throughout the season, but had to fight for a new deal. Wayne Bennett once told him to find another career path, but now his future is secure. Ross is more determined than ever to prove the doubters wrong.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more with the last statements I just said, but hopefully I can prove them wrong again.
Ross came from the field early in Saturday's match with the Bulldogs due to a hamstring injury.
It's not a hamstring tear from what I felt. I don't think it's a hamstring tear. Might be on the milder side of Australian. I've just signed a new contract, which makes me want to play even more than anything. So if there's a chance and they say it's up to me, I'll be throwing caution to the wind and I'll be playing, that's for sure.
The Knights have now set a new club record for consecutive losses.
I care that we've lost 40 in a row, but as for a record, it doesn't matter. We're a building club and we're trying to build, so that's the most important thing.
In a boost to the side, firebrand Mitch Barnett is set to return from suspension.
A massive will to win. He never stops and he tries hard, and we need that, so it'll be good to have him back.
Once a prominent and powerful member of the Anglican Church, Dean Graham Lawrence is now fending off allegations of child sexual abuse.
I stroked Goyette's leg under the table, and then after dinner we ended up having a three-way sex together.
And by that you mean that you, Graham Lawrence and Greg Goyette were involved?
That's correct, yeah.
The accusations made by a witness known as CKH on the 6th day of the Royal Commission. Aged 17 at the time, CKH also detailed another alleged incident 1 year earlier. He claims also involved Lawrence.
He had asked to see my confirmation certificate, given that he had confirmed me, and then he approached me, took my hand and put it against his trousers.
He told the Commission he was astounded the alleged offenders thought it was okay to take responsibility for his sexual awakening and development when they had been entrusted with his pastoral care. Earlier, Keith Allen was excused after being grilled for 3 days, maintaining he knew no details about child sexual assaults contained in brown envelopes, despite the Commission being shown those envelopes.
And I suggest to you that your evidence that you did not discuss either the name of the priest concerned, the name of the parish, or the name of the complainant is absolute nonsense.
That's not true.
Mr Allen also spoke of his involvement in discussions with other members of the diocese surrounding plans to overthrow Director of Professional Standards, Michael Elliott. When questioned whether those discussions centred around people who are alleged to have committed misconduct, Mr Allen responded with yes. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
The Residents' Action Group has few words to describe the long-awaited Human Health Report.
We were pretty much just floored, and I get it's real. You're speechless. It's why I'm struggling to get my words out.
The Defence Commission's study essentially confirmed there's no visible end in sight for those impacted by the Williamtown contamination.
We did think there was going to be more clarity and answers, but there aren't. There are, again, still more questions and answers. And it's just, we always did think that it was going to be here forever, but when it's actually confirmed, that's when it's a slap in the face.
Precautionary bans are still in place for eggs and milk, with residents now advised to limit consumption of homegrown fruit and vegetables. Drinking groundwater has also been identified as a major pathway to exposure. New South Wales Labor wants an inquiry into the response of state agencies, while Paterson MP Meryl Swanson is calling for compensation and property buybacks federally.
This problem is an indefinite problem, and the government really does need to come up with good solutions for people that, if they want to stay living in the area or if they feel as though they can't stay there, people need options.
As for commercial fishermen, their future also remains in limbo. Today, representatives met with the Department of Primary Industries to find out where to next with the fishing ban.
We're waiting for the N Health guidelines to be reviewed, which was a promise by the government as an election promise. Once they're reviewed, then we can put that together with the human health risk assessment, and then some decisions can be made about the river.
That's expected at the end of the month. Renee Feder, NBN News. A stamp of approval for Newcastle's light rail.
400 people in Newcastle and businesses put submissions forward as part of the REF process. Very pleasingly, we've been able to make some changes to the design of the project.
The track now sits flush with the road along Hunter Street. A second line will be built across Stewart Avenue to improve traffic flow, while at Worth Place, alignment changes are designed to make for a smoother and quicker ride.
The second track across Stewart Avenue is quite significant because it shows the government is committed to expansion of the light rail network into the future, and that's critical for its sustainability over the long haul.
Downer EGI has been awarded the manufacturing contract. Initial work is due to begin later this year, with major construction set to get underway in early 2017. But the project's critics have vowed to explore all avenues to keep light rail off Hunter Street.
This is a travesty. It's the wrong light rail system in the wrong place.
Meanwhile, work to clear the corridor is pushing ahead. The Market Street footbridge dismantled piece by piece.
We're going to crack on up there and get on with it.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
We've got a real focus on health this year. You will find that people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, just being under that stress is enough to cause poor health.
Robbie Rocco's tenure at the Knights has been checkered by injury. He's off contract and strongly considering offers from rival clubs. Nathan Brown believes any decision Rocco makes will be in the best interests of his career.
It's not a decision Robbie's going to make based on finance, I don't think. When you sit down and have a good chat with him, he's more looking, does he want to be a part of where we're at the moment in a rebuild, or does he want to go and play in a mature team that's much, much more ready and that's sort of near enough guaranteed finals footy?
Mitch Barnett is preparing to pick up where he left off, while Sione Matadia could return from injury against the Panthers. The pair have quickly become Brown's most damaging forwards.
When Barney was on the left edge and Sione was on the right, was probably our two better performances of the year against Canberra and Melbourne.
Tyler Randall took part in today's contact session and will return from a rib cartilage injury. Danny Levi also trained, but his season is effectively over. Back surgery is imminent.
The medical staff are trying to get him booked in ASAP, so we've made that decision now that Tyler's back to full fitness. It's in the best long-term interest for Danny to go in now.
Nathan Ross didn't train today and will be further assessed on Thursday.
It's only more neural than it is a strain, so whether he's available for selection this week, again, we probably won't know until Thursday, but he's certainly not a no.
It's Lambton's biggest game ever. But judging from the mood at this morning's final training run, you wouldn't know it. A relaxed atmosphere maybe, but this chance isn't being taken for granted.
We've made sure that that's been spoken about, that these opportunities don't come around that often, and for me and some of the older boys as well, we don't know whether we're going to play in it again either. So, we're up for the game and hopefully we can do the region proud.
The round of 32 has already delivered plenty of upsets. The underdogs are performing, and that's given the Jaffers confidence.
That's the beauty of the competition, isn't it? Anyone on their day can beat anyone. That's where teams like us, we're fully fit at the end of our season, so it gives us the extra chance to make an upset.
It won't be an easy outing. Devonport is on top of Tasmania's NPL. With a tough back four and speed out wide, the side is a real threat.
They're quite sharp up in the front third, so we have to be pretty switched on in midfield and at the back and stay tight in our structures. And we've always got goals in us. It's just a matter of keeping them out.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Peter Mitchell emerging from Newcastle Court following an intense day of questioning at the Royal Commission. The former diocesan registrar is accused of protecting a priest at the centre of child abuse allegations.
I want to suggest that you, sir, would be the mould of person who might fraudulently record material in a register to protect your friend.
Absolutely untrue.
The Commission heard the priest known as CKC was charged in 1991, but his trial was abandoned when a church document was presented showing the alleged offences couldn't have been committed when they were said to.
Mr. Mitchell, at any time prior to this document being provided to the DPP, did you make any alterations to this document?
Certainly not.
Are you sure about that?
Quite positive.
The senior church official did admit to providing information to Solicitor Keith Allen without a subpoena. Earlier, the Commission heard a removalist discovered child pornography while packing the belongings of pedophile priest Peter Rushton.
Were you ever asked to sign any sort of document or statement or what?
I was, yes.
What were you asked to sign?
I'm pretty sure it was something to the events where I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I was told that the church knew that he was gay and I wasn't allowed to say anything to anyone.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Two stories of flames. The ferocious blaze consumed an entire home in Dora Street while the heat scorched electrical wires, creating these fiery flashes. Today, the remains of the house lay scattered like matchsticks. It took RFS and fire and rescue crews more than 4 hours to extinguish the blaze. Neighbour David Webb says it was intense.
I went very quick. Once it caught hold, because I think, I don't know what he had downstairs in the house, it's an older house, but once the timber work caught on, it just went off like a firecracker.
The flames consumed everything inside.
The heat was incredible. gas bottles exploding, refrigerators exploding, the noises, and he also had solar panels on his roof and we had glass raining down. Even the side of my own home was hot to touch, brick house.
The owner and another man were taken to Wyong Hospital suffering minor burns. Firefighters say one nearby home sustained minor damage.
The house was well alight, the top story was fully involved, and they actually had issues with the neighbouring properties being threatened by fire.
Investigations into the cause are continuing, but it's thought the fire may have started in the backyard.
RFS fire investigators are working with police detectives to determine the cause. At this stage, it appears the fire actually started outside the property and spread to the structure.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News. A development protesters say is too close for comfort. This white peg a marker of what's to come for West Wallsend's Butterfly Cave. A sacred women's place, NBN's cameras weren't allowed in, but the group did take me inside for a special look.
The respect isn't given to Aboriginal women, and this is where I get upset because this is where I come to find my peace.
Roche Group can begin to clear this nearby site earmarked for development once Lake Macquarie Council receives and approves a vibration report. The cave has been used by Awabaka women for thousands of years, and the group says the development not only threatens its stability, but its secrecy. Roche says it will honour a 20-metre buffer zone, adding that if greater separation between the cave and the development was necessary, decision makers would have required it as part of the approval. But the women say they're desperate to have the land around the cave bought or gifted back, and that they've got their state MP on side and more than 40,000 signatures.
That'll mean engaging people to come up here and actually sit around the cave, women. And we certainly do have support of local women and women across Australia.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
After an injury that's cut his career short, it's moments like these James McManus cherishes more than ever.
It's made this decision much easier now and made today a lot easier. You're right. You're being funny, aren't you?
Today, with a few hugs from his teammates, he officially retired after 166 first-grade games for the Knights and 3 State of Origin appearances. It follows advice from doctors following a second severe concussion last year that left McManus with scarring of the brain.
I won't lie about that. I was really struggling for a good 6 months. Headaches, mood swings, I wouldn't sleep for days, and just general confusion at times, memory problems, short-term memory recall problems.
His condition has improved and he's confident of making a recovery. It's now more than a year since he last played, but the decision to call time on his career couldn't be rushed.
I really wasn't in the right frame of mind to be making any calls on anything anyway. I just needed to get better.
The 30-year-old is the NRL's second player to retire from concussion after Tigers forward Liam Fulton in 2014. It's an area he feels needs more research, but progress is being made.
It's just important that the players are aware that when you're getting tapped on the shoulder to come off the field, it's for a good reason.
McManus is now tackling new challenges.
You all right? Yes? All right.
His wife gave birth to their second child earlier this week, and in November he'll start work for the club in a business role. But this Sunday, the Scottish-born star will take the field one last time in a lap of honour before the Knights face Penrith.
We might get the bagpipes going one more time.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News. All aboard and on the road. But it's an impending arrival that has Jets fans talking.
It is very sad to see that a club can't announce its own player in its own time.
Finnish media first reported Alexander Kokko's signing. He'll arrive in Newcastle match fit.
He has been playing Europa League competitions. Their season run's different to ours, so he's actually played 18 games so far. He's got pedigree of scoring goals, and the research went into him in terms of all the facets that we look at. And it's an attribute that the squad doesn't have at this point. We've got a lot of mobile, dynamic players, but he can do both. He can be the platform as well.
The Jets held a clinic in Muswellbrook this afternoon and have more planned in Tamworth, Armidale and Gunnedah before facing the Central Coast Mariners on Saturday night.
Obviously, they're in a difficult scenario now with the change of management structure. So, but our focus is purely on our preparations leading into the season.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
A few days ago, Christy Coote had her first paraglider flight with keen aviator and NBN weatherman Gavin Morris.
Well, I was in safe hands. I was with Gavin because he knows all about the weather.
Like Gav did 3 years ago, Christy has signed up for an event called Wings Over Kilimanjaro.
I will be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. When we get to the top, we are paragliding off, and I'll be tandem paragliding.
In 2013, 100 pilots climbed the mountain, but bad weather prevented them from flying off the top. It's a far cry from Christy's day job as a performer. Organised by Australian Adrian McRae, the event is a fundraiser, with each participant raising $10,000 for the cause.
Schools have been built. We've helped villages with fresh water, cooking devices, becoming self-sustainable. The charity and the organisation has just been immense, and that's what's been great to have been a part of, to have started something, and now this legacy is continuing.
Christy will be staging a fundraiser on August 20 at Noah's on the Beach in Newcastle before heading to Africa.